welcome to this episode of Focus On with myself, Fifi Peters. Namibia has a bold and ambitious target of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 91% by 2030. We will be discussing the path to reaching this target with Namibia's Deputy Prime Minister, Minister Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah. Ma'am, once again, thanks so much for your time. It has been quite an eventful COP so far. Many of the delegates and business leaders that we're talking to are saying that it's one of the most eventful COPs that they've attended in a long time. Just your impressions of the climate conference and how things are unfolding.
No, I can agree that it was one of the eventful COP conference, and that's understandable. Because from Rio to where we are today, there was quite a number of hurdles that has to be overcome. But that has really worked. And that's why COP28 has to be different from others. You remember there was a time when we could not even agree on the issue of common but different responsibility. And when that breakthrough was made, then the Paris Agreement came into being. And since the Paris Agreement, all the COP were just building on that. And I think the climate change is really becoming a reality. And even those who have not agreed before, they are starting to agree. And that's what makes the COP28 different. We know that the mitigation commitments which were made in Paris, they are not really met. The 100 billion. But now there are other commitments which are coming up, like the loss and damage. And if we can really pay attention to loss and damage, the end result will be mitigation, because you cannot just pay continuously paying for the loss and the damage. You have to prevent the damage, and preventing the damage through mitigation. So I think the commitments which are coming are more promising. And what is really required is for countries to work together. And this also underlines the importance of partnership and multilateralism, because in an event like this, we are talking about the power of multilateralism. So therefore, it's very, very important, and truly, this conference is to be different. And one wants the next one also to add more momentum and for more action to be taken. I think 28 years of talking is enough for action to be taken. And this is the message that is coming from COP28.
Certainly. And to circle back to the point that you made about partnerships, we've heard a lot about the importance of partnerships between government entities and the private sector in scaling up climate action efforts. We do know that Namibia is doing quite a bit of work in your hydrogen sector. There's quite a number of investments that have been going there in your own efforts to increase energy security within your country. So how important then would you say that global partnerships, particularly with the private sector, are for your renewable and energy security ambitions?
You know, partnership is the way to go. And there is a unanimous understanding that for development to proceed, we really need to invest on renewable energy. And Namibia is one of that countries that I call is a natural laboratory for all what is needed for us to scale up the green energy or the renewable energy. I'm saying this because we have the wind, we have the solar, the sun, we have the wave, and we have also the biomass. So all these are the ingredients. And on top of that, we have minor resources which are required for material that are needed for us really to invest efficiently and effectively in the green energy. So green hydrogen, yes, it has, Namibia is well positioned for that, and that's why we are calling for partnership, both the private sector as well as governments, to invest in this renewable energy in order for us to have a just transition to the green energy. I'm emphasizing on the word of just, because currently you know that for the South, which is a developing country, including Namibia, we really need to speed up our development. We have to make a push. And in absence of the new energy, not really yet in full force to run industrialization, we must be given space in order for us to industrialize and to address the challenges of our country with what is available. But in the process, we have really to make sure that we speed up. But nobody should be disadvantaged in the process of green transition. So it must really be carrying others along in ensuring that we address the challenge that we are having. A country like Namibia, like other African countries, unemployment is real, and we really, for you to create employment, you have to grow your economy in order to create that job. And the impact of climate change is another challenge that we are facing. Food security is the biggest challenge. Now, how do we move in ensuring food security in our countries? What you need is energy. What you need is water. And all these things are cycled. So if you are to say you have to wait to develop the green energy for industrialization, what will happen in the interim? And that's why the issue of just a transition to green energy is important, that it should not just be imposed in a manner that to disadvantage those of us who are still in the process of getting our people out of poverty.
Just coming from your pavilion, what was noticeable was the amount of individuals that were smartly dressed, some of them in suits, looking like investors. And we have seen quite a strong expression of interest in participating in Namibia's hydrogen sector, to be specific. If you can just talk about that investor participation, sir, and where you are welcoming investments from the private sector, specifically in your ambitious targets of ensuring that over 90% of your energy comes from clean resources.
Yes, we have a roadmap, and that the national roadmap, and also with our NDC combined with our Vision 2030 and our national development plans. We have now in the Development Plan 5, all these part of the roadmap. So our idea is that with our ambition plan we have now and the strategies we have, is to make sure that we have green hydrogen. That is a project that is a very huge project that we have started, and we impact upon this project in order to ensure that we have not only that we have clean energy, but also we contribute to the Southern African power clean energy. And what we generate, not only for Namibia, we will have a surplus. So we need to make sure that we put this on the SADC pool. So, and that's our contribution also in the SADC. So we welcome all investors that are coming to Namibia to invest in this program. So we want to scale down some of the industries or some of the sectors that are emitting so much carbon in Namibia. And also, as a minister responsible for environment and at this platform of climate change, COP28, the idea was that when we came together as nations of this universe to work on the Paris Agreement, the idea is to ensure that those who have polluted the environment have to make sure that they pay what the damage they have caused. Not only that, so that's why you come up with so those that are polluted, they must not only pay the damage, but also pay, they must restore there's a question of restoration as well, to heal the world, what they have done to this planet. and also to pay the damage to those who are suffering today. And those who are suffering today are developing countries, because developing countries have never contributed much to this. So little that we've contributed, but we are the most suffering part of the world. It's developing countries. So developed nations. In fact, it's a Paris Agreement, which is a public international law. And there's a legal, all those countries that are developed countries, they are legally bound. It's not a question of morality, that they are doing it because of morality's sake. It's a question of they are legally bound to pay up, because to heal the planet, because they have caused the damage, and also to make sure that the damage they cause to those who are suffering today, they pay up. So we are not asking for something that they need to support or they need to give us grants or so. We are saying pay your damage. That's part of international law. So in international environment law, you talk about those who cause damage. A person who caused damage must pay it.
Sure.
Must make sure that there is a restoration to it.
So a significant announcement coming from this conference being a traction on the Loss and Damages Fund, although I'm sure you'll agree that a lot more than the over $400 million that has already been pledged is needed to protect vulnerable nations, poorer nations, particularly those in Africa. But another conversation that's happening here quite strongly is the conversation around growing Africa's carbon market. And this is another portfolio that you look at in terms of managing the forests over in Namibia, where we are hearing a lot more experts talking about Africa's carbon sinks, as it were, and the role that our forests can play in helping the world reduce its carbon emissions. Just what is your thinking or the plans for the forestry portfolio and participating in the carbon market, sir?
Yes, we have been having some discussions as African countries, especially at the ministerial level, and also it started from the technical level. Tomorrow we also have a meeting that Mozambique is calling upon to protect some of our very species, especially trees that we have, and we are doing so to ensure that we have to put some kind of a stop on the harvesting, unsustainable harvesting of some of our protected trees, especially the species that are more in demand, and people, especially companies, are unsustainably harvesting this. So we are very, very serious on that. And when I came from home, there is now the director of forest has issued a moratorium on the harvesting of Mopane trees, because they are really been unsustainably harvested, and we just need to make sure that we have a way of count, and afterward we need to have. We're not saying people should not do any harvesting, but we need to come up scientifically with a plan to say we can only sustainably harvest this so amount.
And that wraps up this episode of Focus On. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back again, but for now, it's goodbye.